price you pay to pursue your dreams. Grinding every day to get that dream. Ain't no holding back until you get your shot. One day you're gonna open your eyes and be on top. That's the price you pay to pursue your dreams. Grinding every day to get that dream. Ain't no holding back until you get your shot. One day you're gonna open your eyes and be on top. Been playing this game since I was 10 years of age. I wanted to make my mark ever since my Pop Warner days. When I strapped that helmet, I'm knocking dudes into a blaze. A lockdown corner going all the way through 7th and 8th grade. Entering high school, I'm ready to write another page. Busting my ass and lifting weights. It's a much higher level, but I'm still making plays. No time to party or bask in my glory days. It's college preparatory classes every single day. Living my life with that singular goal. It's the fire inside that makes me whole. Looking in the mirror, my muscles swole. I'm on a mission, and I'm never gonna stop. When the ball's in the air like Sherman, I'm a hawk. And I promise I'll overcome whatever life throws at me.
All right, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Welcome to the Ageless Movement Podcast. I'm your co-host, Scott Lohman.
I'm Sang Poinak.
All right, we got a lot to cover today. First thing, Stanford won the big game. Things are right in the world. The axe is back on the farm.
Yes, but Santa Clara County is closed.
Yes, probably the end of the season.
For Stanford and the 49ers.
True, and San Jose State. So much for a football season, but that's okay. We understand it's a pandemic. All right. Okay, so that leads us to our first topic of discussion today, which is going to be the AstraZeneca vaccine. And before we get into that, we're also going to have our Cyber Monday specials and things we're going to recommend that you should buy. Cyber Week. Yeah, you're going to cover that part. Okay, let me bring the information up right now. There we go. Okay, so good news. There's actually 4 vaccines now, but we're going to talk about the third vaccine, which is AstraZeneca Oxford. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this vaccine, it's a little bit different than the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines in that they use what's called mRNA. And all that simply means is the vaccines, Pfizer and Moderna, give your immune system the necessary protein to fight the coronavirus. And the way it does it, Pfizer and Moderna, basically it gives your immune system the proteins necessary to go into the cytoplasm. If maybe you could scoot a little bit so they can see, sorry. The cytoplasm here, that's the nucleus. And it goes in there and gives it the necessary lacing capabilities to go in there and kill the protein on the coronavirus, and it kills it. And then you have, you've subverted all the major, side effects of the virus itself. And hopefully you're not going to be hospitalized. You're going to make 100% recovery. What we still don't know yet is whether or not it prevents the spread of the virus itself. Okay, now, how does AstraZeneca differ? It differs in some slightly different ways. I'm going to get out of the screen here so you can see. It actually uses, and I'm not kidding you here, it uses DNA from an adenovirus, which is a chimp virus. And basically what that chimp virus does is, it's a transport system. So basically, it's the transport into your body to give your immune system the proper proteins to go into the nucleus of the coronavirus and the cytoplasm and kill. And then you actually destroy the coronavirus. Now that's the really simple way of explaining it, but believe me, there's quite a bit of science to this, and that's my best shot at explaining it in the most simplistic way possible, okay? All right, so now let's get to some of the more easier to understand aspects of this vaccine. Hold on a second here. Okay, so this is what's very interesting about this. These Pfizer and Moderna. Sorry about that.
There were some.
Okay, so here's what's interesting. So I'll get out of the way here. So basically, there's 2 vaccines, just like the Pfizer and Moderna. you get 2 shots. You get day 1, and then at day 28, you get the second shot. Now, here's what's so fascinating about AstraZeneca and why I want to talk about this today. So, basically what they did was they had 9,000 people they gave the vaccine to in Brazil, and 3,000 people they gave the vaccine to in the UK. Now, here's what's so fascinating. Just based on the data they got from Brazil, it meant a 62% efficacy. Now, some of you are probably rolling your eyes like 62%. Well, Pfizer and Moderna were between 90 and 95%, which is true. But this is nothing to sneeze at. This meets the standard for a vaccine, that 62%. So they could accelerate it and get it to the people. Okay, now, an interesting thing happened in UK. In UK, they screwed up and gave everyone a half dose. And then the second dose was a full dose of it. Okay, so half dose at day 1, at day 28 in the UK, they were given a full dose. And what happened? It raised the efficacy to 90%. Now, we still don't know what happened there. It's under peer review, but they have a sneaking suspicion that half dose is actually the more effective way to getting to that 90% efficacy standard. So they're going to try the same thing in the United States here. They're in the process of it. I don't know how many it's going to be yet. I didn't get the data on that. But they're going to do the same thing. They're going to go day 1 at a half dose. At day 28, they're going to go a full dose. And hopefully they get somewhere near that 90% efficacy. Okay? Now, a couple other interesting aspects about this.
Accumulates the body.
Okay, so what's also going on here is, I believe, 36 to 46 degrees Fahrenheit is where it's going to be stored at, which is considerably warmer than the Pfizer, which I think was minus 91 degrees or some crazy number. The other interesting thing is, because of that half dose, if that rings true and they can get by just giving people a half dose and then a full dose at day 28, that means they can cut their prices down significantly because they're going to have a much larger supply. So the plan here, the cost is going to be $3 to $5 per shot in UK, because they've agreed, AstraZeneca, that they're not going to make any profit on this while the pandemic's raging. Okay? And as a result, they're going to be able to get 3 to 4.5 billion doses. And the idea is, initially it was going to be 3 billion doses, but because of that half dose, they're going to be able to stretch it out to 4.5 billion. Okay, no serious side effects. Now, you're probably wondering, how did they do the whole placebo thing? So they don't just give you like water and salt or whatever. What they actually do is they gave the placebo people a meningitis vaccine, which has a very similar response that the COVID vaccine has, and they haven't reported any serious side effects. Now, that doesn't mean that there are not going to be some pretty bad side effects, meaning I listened to a couple people talk that were a part of the study. I'll see if I can find those videos and I'll leave the link here. But essentially, all it did was, it was like a bad hangover. And believe me, bad hangovers can be brutal. So that's what you could expect: headaches, possibly nausea, feeling, generally very lousy. These are definitely side effects that you could expect. Okay. So anything you want to add to that, saying? That's just an update on the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine that will be free during the pandemic. Okay. All right. If you have any questions on that, please don't hesitate to ask and leave a comment. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. All right, so our next topic, and this is going to be a really fun one because Zane was in the retail industry for a very long time. What, 15 years?
15 years.
Yeah, 15 years.
And basically, buying stuff, that's always hard to get. That was kind of my thing.
So what is it that we need during this Cyber Monday? What is it that everyone can benefit from that's out there?
Well, in general, since fitness equipment has been really hard to find, that's why now is probably a good time to get whatever equipment you can get your hands on, because even we had trouble getting some things.
Yes, we did, didn't we?
That we watched for, I have been watching since March. When it finally came up, it sold out, and then finally I had to get Scott to really jump on it.
Yeah.
That's not anything that anybody
The timer
cares
clock,
about.
yes,
Yeah.
from Rogue Fitness. We got it, everyone. Those of you in our level 2 fitness and even in our evening fitness classes, you'll benefit from it.
Yeah.
You're not sure how now, but you'll know when we get it.
So for this particular group, I would say the one thing that we talk a lot about in general is myofascial release. So there are quite a few myofascial release products that we have in this lineup.
I'll get out of the way here.
So one of them is the balls that we use for myofascial release, which is the alpha ball is one of them, but then it also comes in 2 other sizes that we don't usually talk about.
I was going to see if you can click that corner to get that off.
Oh, I want that there
Okay,
because here it is, Cyber Monday week is 25% off.
Wow.
And this is the coupon code is best week ever. So I highly recommend this ball over every other ball because of the pliability of it, which might not make sense, but when you handle the ball, you'll understand it's why it is that texture and why you like that feel.
What is the texture like?
The texture
Yeah.
is, it's rubber, but it's kind of squishy and not hard like your lacrosse ball that you love to.
Oh, yeah. I love that ball.
Yeah, which is fine for somebody like Scott, but I still highly recommend Yoga tune-up balls over almost any other ball out there. And they will break down over time. They should break down over time. So they're not meant to last forever. That's one thing too.
Especially when my fat butt's using them.
Yeah. Scott knows how to break down an alpha ball really
That is
fast.
sure true.
And
On my
that's
hips.
based on his size and the amount of time that he uses it. The second thing that I think a lot of people miss out on is Stroops. We use Stroops a lot in our neurological, our neuromuscular class, quite a bit. So you might recognize the band. It's fabric covered. But in general, like this, the website is full of things. This item right here is one of the things that I love that my clients can't seem to get. Not that it's hard to get. I don't know why they just won't purchase it. But I think overall it's great because you can create these anchor points at different levels. So for those of you who do, let's say face pulls, if Scott's taught you how to do a face pull, you need an anchor roughly this high.
Yeah, and it's cool
To
too.
do.
You can look at all the different options you have for heights. You can do high cable lat pulls. You can do low rows.
Yep.
Oh, I like this.
Yep. And then this stick isn't the stick that I have, but there. I mean, you can go to their.
And they
site
actually
and
have
figure
these
it out.
available, which
Yeah.
is shocking because if any of you have tried to purchase exercise equipment since this pandemic started, it has been unbelievably hard to get the most simple exercise equipment. In fact, I sold some adjustable Joe Vider dumbbells that go from like 10 pounds all the way to 50. I think I made like $500 or $600 on it. It was shocking. That was one of the few times that, the economy benefited me in that moment.
Yeah. So I think it's resistance bands that are 50% off. Oh, there it goes. Resistance bands are up to 50% off anchors. So that strap that was wrapped around the door, it might be 50 or 25% off. Attachments, if you use any of the foot attachments, are 40% off. And I don't even know what this conditioning part is because I don't actually send my clients in that direction.
Yeah, that looks like treadmills or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
You see how you work your lats here? Well, that may be hard to see on the camera, but yeah.
That muscle right there.
Yeah, right there. That woman's pulled. She's got some good lats on her.
She's also got good triceps.
Really
on her.
good delts, too. Yeah.
He's like,
Okay.
so do I.
Okay, you want to run this one? So this one is Agelss 90. Basically, it is a grip device. And I'll let Scott kind of show the parts that he enjoyed.
So this is a fascinating thing that Sang showed me. So essentially, all of you have seen, it's made in Italy. So I'm going to tell you right now, that means high quality. Probably a bit on the expensive side, but definitely high quality. Okay, so that's what it looks like there, and that's basically the grip. And this strap here can go on a barbell, can go on a pull-up bar, just about anything you can imagine. And if you're not quite sure, this is the typical grips that you see on a barbell. This is the grip that I mostly do when I bench press and I deadlift. And that's a grip you can do if you're going to do, say, a heavy deadlift. And maybe, I would say not with both hands, but with maybe one hand, which would be the left hand in that case. And the right hand would have the normal grip, which is what you see over here. That would be just a way to hang onto the bar without dropping the bar when the weight gets heavy. But for most of us, we use some type of strap apparatus when we get to a certain weight that helps maintain our grip. Now here's what's so neat about this. You can put these on pull-up bars. And it's quite simple to see. You can grip it any way you want. You can supinate, pronate your wrists all the way through, and all that means is this movement here. And you hang on to it, and you pull yourself up, do pull-ups with it. The other thing you can do that's quite interesting, although I think I passed it somewhere, it's up here. Sorry, I don't mean to make you dizzy. There's a video here, and I'm just gonna mute it so you can see it. And the interesting thing here, those are the grips, and you see how they go on. And look at that. So you could actually do a deadlift with those grips, and really you can vary the width of them. And I can only imagine what that's doing for your grip strength there, to be able to hang on to it from there as opposed to just the bar. And you're not just stuck on one plane. With a barbell, however you grab that bar to start is how you're going to have to finish it. Here, you can actually move your wrists. You can pronate to supinate, meaning palm up or palm down, while you're actually lifting here.
And this angle also, that angle that just passed by also gives you the trap bar angle if you are kind of new to deadlifting and you've got rounded shoulders. That helps.
Yeah, that's a great exercise
that
for you.
Outside grip.
Yeah, your posterior chain. Let's go back to that for just a moment.
So this wider grip outward helps with the shoulders. That's why this is super helpful and requires one less bar, less space.
Pretty interesting stuff. I'm going to go back a little bit. Sorry. There we go. So you can see how they work. You grab them. And that really is going to work your forearms, your carpal muscles. And like Sang was saying, on a trap bar, this is just really nice to be able to lift.
I always talk about the clavicles in lifting, and I think a lot of people get confused, but having like really open clavicles versus always rounded through the entire move.
Yeah, and that's the advantage of having that wider grip and that particular wrist hand position there. It's very good for the shoulders. So yeah, it's a very interesting device. We Sang ordered a pair. They're on the way, and I'm actually, ironically, I'm rehabbing from tennis elbow in my right arm, so this is going to be a useful rehabilitation tool for me as well. There's somebody doing barbell rows there. That's a nice grip. And then look at that. You could do standing Stroop pulls with it, which is one of our, any banded pull. But we're going to be talking about Stroops in a little bit. And look, you can do lat pulls, basically, or actually, you have a different name for that. It's like the TRX pull-ups.
Yeah, it's an inverted row.
Inverted row, yeah.
Yeah, so they sell packages. I personally only purchase just the handles because we have access to a functional trainer. But somewhere on this website, you can find a whole package of everything you need, all the way from like a pulley system. So if you have a kettlebell, you can attach that kettlebell with a pulley and do your cable pulls that way. So lots of options.
Yeah, and you see the lady over here, she's actually,
using, straps.
She's using the straps as well. There we go, sorry about that. I'm gonna pause that for just a minute, or not. There we go. And you can see all the different ways you can use them. You can use them for push downs, pull downs, crossovers. It's really pretty fascinating. She's doing a pull up with the palms facing the body. I'm not really into doing them that way myself, but you can see the rotation's really good for the trunk, good for spinal rotation, those external obliques and abdominals. And then, of course, you can lunge with resistance as well. Now, I know that's kind of a tall order for a lot of you. I wouldn't even do a movement like that.
But if you can, you should.
But look at this. This is a movement I would definitely do. And look at that. You can do lat pulls with them.
That's it.
You can do T-bar rows with them once, we're out of the pandemic. Looks great. And, you can do standing pulls. You could do these with a Stroops band or any kind of TheraBand. You don't necessarily have to have machines to do that.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I recommend the Stroops band is because TheraBands, depending on how you take care of them, they can snap. So that's why I prefer Stroops bands or any band that has some sort of protective covering on it.
Yeah.
So that was the recommendation.
And this is called Agelss, right?
Yep.
Pretty interesting stuff. Okay, what else is out there that we need?
Well, before we go to that, we're going to go to Amazon next. I'm highly going to recommend using the Amazon Smile.
What is that?
Amazon Smile, basically, if you have to log on as smile.amazon.com, and it's your same login from Amazon. And basically what you do is you assign a charity that you want, the charity I want Jeff Bezos to donate to. And he donates 0.5%, which he should.
Yeah.
In all reality, and I always forget to use this website, and I'm just gonna keep pounding it in my head that I need to do that because for a long time I used to do this for Michael J. Fox Parkinson's Foundation, but recently found a local organization that could really use it. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Adaptive PE is in this list.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Adaptive PE Redwood City, that's our nonprofit we work for.
Yeah, so I highly recommend signing up and picking your charity of choice and always logging in and making all your purchases through this smileamazon.com. So that's that. And we'll go to one more product and then we'll start going to tests. So here's another item that is on sale. I find it personally regular price kind of expensive, which is why now at $97, I think a little bit more reasonable. But it is the Active Body Active 5, and I haven't tried it yet, like I said, because I thought it was expensive for what it was. But basically, you can do your isometric. So I don't know if you can see, but this gentleman's sitting in a seated position, rotated and pressing, and basically isometrically engaging his body. And this is like one of the things that I find really difficult to teach people, especially if we're not in person. So at this point, we're gonna have to start using devices that everybody's going to have to get on their own to figure it out. And as you can see, based on how he's pressing, and I guess this was a bicep curl, I didn't even see that in the picture. It's 25 pounds that he is basically amount of pressure that he's creating. So that's another thing. It's good for tracking so that you know over time. Like,
how does that work again?
So it's...
There we go. Oh wow, so you create resistance using your own resistance.
Right, so one of those things, I don't know if you've ever, in any of my classes, I have talked about irradiation. I use irradiation a lot when doing kettlebell work. Full body tension is another one term that I use, and I tend to use that in my stick mobility classes. And when I talk about how you interact with the ground, it's basically how do you create enough force into the ground by using all the muscles in your body. I've tried to explain it so many times and I've been very unsuccessful. So I think really what it comes down to is if you see a number, maybe you'll understand that better than I can lift this by using all the muscles in my body. So I think this is a useful device, good for travel also. So when I sit in my next plane ride bored out of my mind, this is something I can do. And it can connect to your phone so you can see like how much strength you can generate by pushing into this little, kind of like a pebble. I think it's the size of your palm.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So one of those things I think is going to be good, especially if we're going to have to keep training in our homes for a while. So in order to not lose momentum and to keep going and gain strength, this is one of those devices that I highly recommend, because next week will probably be the last week it's on sale.
And look at that. You could be at work on all your iPad and your iMac and still exercise while you're thinking out loud.
That's what I'm looking forward to, is my all of my meetings. I could sit around and do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those are all the pictures of what you can do.
Oh, interesting. 297 pounds total weight lifted. And the amount of exercise you did, it records everything. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's interesting. So if any of you need to keep track of what you're doing, this looks like a really neat mobile device you can bring with you anywhere. Mm-hmm. All right, that's a really good one. Okay, let's get out of this. I'm going to hit escape. All right.
Okay. So we've talked about this one before, and now it is the time to do it, because this thing only goes, I feel like, on sale once a year.
Oh yes, hearing, right?
No.
No. Okay, I'm going to let you talk. Oh, 23andMe.
Yep. So here's your Cyber Monday deal. 23andMe, the health and ancestry. So you've heard Scott and I talk about it. It's 50% off for Cyber Monday. It's normally $200 and now $100. Yes, you can get a cheaper version with just the ancestry, but what I was most interested in was the health part.
I'm interested in both.
So, in fact, I need to go back and look at my 23andMe, because I think somewhere in there is, if I can figure out how to read it, which I think I'll be able to, it's going to look at Alzheimer's. So.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how beneficial this has been for myself. It answers a lot of questions about yourself. You know, why you like certain foods, why even you think a certain way about certain things. And the other thing too as well, it answers a lot of questions about your health, but keep in mind, anything that 23andMe identifies genetically as a risk, it doesn't mean you're going to get it. They're very clear that your lifestyle choices have the most profound effect on your genetics. So you'll learn a lot, and they have really good tutorials now with it that educate you on how to even disseminate this information. It's really good.
I mean, the way I see it, it's better to be knowledgeable about it rather than kind of live in the dark. So that's why this has been, I think, really eye-opening and useful for the both of us. Just a reminder, though, when you get these tests, you're going to have to be good with pricking yourself. Oh, yeah? Wait. This one is a swab.
That was a spit test.
This one, okay. This one's easy.
Can you spit?
Oh, that's right. You have to spit enough to fill the whole vial.
You have to spit in the vial.
Yeah. I think it's like even before eating and all that when you first.
You have to do it right when you wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
That's why it took me so long to actually get a sample.
I haven't had any water, I can't produce anything.
Yeah, it's tough. But I once you do it, you're good to go. It's great.
Okay, so our next item, still in this family of tests, this is Everlywell, which hopefully that's one day. Yeah, you still have one more day to go to Everlywell and get a food sensitivity test, which is what I use them for. But it looks like you can order a whole bunch of tests with this general code of health and get 35% off. This is the one that will require you to prick your own self, which I had a very interesting time doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Even though I have drawn blood from people before, just pricking myself was
But
very interesting.
it's really, and this was very beneficial because I know for years you used to have all kinds of skin sensitivities, and I could never figure out why it was. And of course, this test identified that she was allergic to chickens. And what would I do? I would make her an egg every morning for breakfast, or we'd eat chicken for dinner. I was just making it worse for her, not realizing that chicken and anything to do with the chicken, eggs or the chicken itself, creates a skin allergy for her. And as soon as she cut back on chickens,
life is great.
Yeah, life is great. And she can even have an egg a couple times a week. So there we go. And a chicken maybe once a month.
Yeah, I still have to be careful about the chicken.
Yeah, chicken's bad news.
Yeah, so those are our two tests that we recommend. I mean, there's actually more, but the other one's even more complicated, so we're just gonna leave it at those two.
So hurry up, hopefully I'll get this uploaded quickly enough, this video.
Okay, so our next item, for those of you that take classes a lot,
On Zoom.
yeah, especially if you are in one of my classes, you probably experience this, that you can't hear me. So our next item is a pair of earbuds that work wirelessly. So for those of you who are using your phone or your iPad, possibly even your computer, to join our classes, having an earbud is super helpful. And here's a pair at $80 from $130 at Best Buy. They are the Samsung Galaxy Buds. Highly recommend earbuds. I've had to use them for my one-on-one clients so that they can hear me and I can hear them while everything's way on the other side and not nearby.
So quick question, and of course this operates on Bluetooth, correct? And you can actually connect your phone to a television set and monitor the audio through these, right? And still look at the TV?
Yes, but I feel like it has to be one of those newer.
Oh yeah. Newer
televisions. Because
But I noticed in Zoom it actually gives you the option
Okay.
of where you're going to get your sound. And
Okay.
it's right next to the microphone. You'll see a bar next to it, and you click on it, and it'll ask you, do you want to use the built-in sound
Yes.
of the television set or the device that you have? And usually, if you do the device, it'll be the earbuds if you already have those connected. Or in some cases, it may identify them separate from the device, and then you click on the earbuds.
There you go.
All right.
Okay, so my last recommendation, it's a very general recommendation. I'm just going to go with Powerplay because they offer the most devices. And Powerplay is 25% off for a roller or a vibrating ball. I just like this group just because, number one, they know how to do vibration. I don't think anybody in our group has really done much of this unless you've worked out in another gym and maybe if they have like what we call a Theragun, which you can see is they have one, I think it's the Pulse is their version of it, but all of that is 25% off. And the other thing that, I mean, if this is your price point, which is going to be roughly $1,200, is a power plate itself, which is in the background there. Good for recovery, good for working out on. What else? That's pretty much everything.
Yeah, that's got it covered. For myofascial release.
Yeah.
For and we're going to talk about the power plate more in the future because I think we could dedicate a whole podcast to just that alone.
Yeah, Powerplay, basically every NFL team except for one has one inside their gym.
And that's the Powerplay, I'm guessing, in the back?
That is this one right here. These are both, to me, they're a big footprint. The one I got is the personal Powerplay, which should be able to fit underneath your bed along with the Move. The Move might be a little taller, but for sure the personal Powerplay can go underneath your bed. But it is quite the investment. I mean, I just justified it as, I don't know the exact price of an osteoporosis, one dose of osteoporosis injection is roughly that price. So that's how I justified it.
Yeah, it's a good comparison. You don't have to put a drug in your body.
Nope.
And it's a holistic way of remodeling your bone.
Yeah.
To create more bone growth.
Yeah, so that's the other reason why I recommend Powerplay is if you're willing to spend that kind of money, then you can work on trying to prevent osteoporosis and build bone and so forth. So that's pretty much all of our...
And keep in mind, anything you do like a deadlift or a squat with weight where you're loading your muscles, especially in your hips and your spine, is going to help build bone mass.
Yes, but you have to lift a certain amount.
Yeah, it can't be a little baby weight. You got to push yourself and get stronger.
Yeah, you have to create enough
load.
Enough muscle tear.
Yeah.
Micro tears,
mm-hmm.
so that they can be repaired. Which is why working out is not just about the workout itself. It is also about the recovery and how your body repairs your...
Yeah, and you basically, to give you just some basic understanding, when you work out, your muscles contain something called contractile protein. They're called actin and myosin, and when you work out and you load those muscles, you break up that actin and myosin. It's that actin and myosin, when they contract, they create that tension in the muscle, and that's what increases the strength. And as you get stronger and you break up more of that actin and myosin, it comes back stronger with a thicker cross section. And that's why muscles look really good when you're fit, and why they don't look good when you're not fit, because those actin and myosin, their contractile proteins, start to decrease.
Something for us that we're planning on talking about in the future.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about on podcasts, but we want to hit you up with products this week since we're getting close to the holidays.
Well, yes, and this is probably the week to make purchases. I mean, I'm sure there's probably going to be some sort of big sale at the end of the year. So you could take your chance and wait to see what happens, because just with everything that's happening, people might have over-ordered. And at the end of the year, we'll have to have a huge blowout sale. But from what we've experienced from a lot of people, that hasn't been the case. It's been so hard to get merchandise. I'm actually kind of surprised some of these guys are even...
Yeah, I just can't believe they have sales on them.
They have sales and they're in stock. So
yeah.
A lot of the products that we have spoken about are products that not a lot of people go to right away, which is why I think it's in stock. And they're willing to do the discounts. I mean, they're definitely not the steeper discounts we've seen over the years, but I mean, a discount is a discount. The discount on this Powerplay, I think pretty much covered shipping.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Oh, well.
All right. Well, that's pretty interesting stuff. So anything else you want to add?
Nope.
All right. I think that does it today, everyone. All right. Thank you for watching our podcast. Hopefully, we've given you ideas on gifts that you should buy for yourself or your friends.
All fitness oriented.
Fitness oriented. Hopefully, we filled you in on the AstraZeneca vaccine and how it slightly differs from the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines. And keep doing what you're doing. Pretty soon, probably around summer or fall, we could be looking at the end of this pandemic. I'm pretty optimistic. Oh, and one other thing we should probably include is Dr. Michael Osterholm's podcast.
Oh,
if you want to
right.
get really good, relevant information from a pandemic expert himself, who's been doing this for 30 plus years, who's a professor at the University of Minnesota and considered the leader of his field, right up there with Dr. Fauci on disease and infections.
I actually like Dr. Osterholm better because I feel like his He's pretty direct. He doesn't beat around the bush. I feel like Dr. Fauci, I don't know whether it's because he was working for the president or what have you, he was not being so upfront. And what did Dr. Osterholm? It's like, basically, don't share air. And he kept saying it over and over again. Don't share air. That's just like bottom line. I loved how he said that. It was so simple and concise, and I just wish he were kind of out there more, even though, like, I know he had a book early on in the pandemic, which I have not had a chance to read, but his weekly podcast is worth listening
to.
Good.
So I'll try to leave the link on that as well. There's a lot of links you're going to have this week that I'll throw in there. Anyway, so yeah, that does it. And then we'll be back next week with more interesting information for you, all right? Okay, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in a week. Take care.